complicated. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences, let love heal all that's broken.
And shalom to each and every one of you. So glad to have you with us today. This is yours truly, the Apostle B.W. Jones Sr., right here on what is known as the Proceeding Word, another opportunity where in the kingdom of Elohim, those of us who live and believe in it, we get opportunity to see how to practically carry out, in fact, our lives. One of the great things about this particular program, I have been told, and I've come to believe, because it was predicated on this very fact, is that, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is, in fact, our Elohim. That's how man lives. Welcome to the broadcast again. We are here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish. Every week, and we look forward to always being here for you, with you, and that we can all glean and learn together how to live this life we oftentimes say we love, but many times fail to actually be able to comply with because we didn't think about what needs to be done. But we do have a program today that will bring some light to a few things as we prepare to deal with issues in our society and within the kingdom of heaven, which we live in this earthen realm. Remember, you are in this world, but if you are a part of the kingdom of Elohim, you are not of this world. You're not of its mindset. You're not of its ways. Your edict, your governance is according to the edict of the citizenship of the kingdom of Elohim in the earth. So though the world is going around you doing everything else that seems to be socially justifiable, the kingdom of Elohim, which is purported to be within a lot of religious structures and organizations and sectisms of this world, it's purported that the kingdom is how we live and what we live by, but then what we find reported in our actions is contrary to what is actually the life of a kingdom believer. And it doesn't mean just like sin, right? We're talking about the ways we move within our own communities and with even our families. So let's get into the word today. Why don't you join me in a word of prayer at this moment? Yahweh, we want to thank you for life, help. We want to thank you for strength because you are our help. We want to thank you for the ability to move in this earth. And since you did not take any of us on and transition us, those of us remaining here on the earth, we want to do as your will suggests. So we want to say thank you for the activity of our limbs. Thank you for sight and for sound. Thank you, Father, however that looks. Just because we might not be good in one area doesn't mean you've not given us the ability to overcome in another area. And we're grateful for how you overlap and overlay our lives, that we can still accomplish in life a good and successful life. So we know that we live not because we're so wonderful, but we live because of your word. Your word gave life. Your word is life. And that life is the lighting of the pathway for any human in the earthen realm. And we thank you for that. We're asking to learn how to extrapolate that better in our lives. We're learning and asking that you would guide us in that light. And Father, we do earnestly, sincerely desire your salvation. So Father, if we've woke up this morning with anger, unforgiveness, reservedness about doing your will, covetousness about anything in our lives, we're asking you to have mercy on us. Forgive us as we confess any sin your word says is transgressive toward you. And we're asking for the blood of Yeshua HaMashiach to cleanse us from any and all sins, that we might be in right stead with you. Because, Father, life is only in you and your word. and the demonstration you allowed through the body of Yeshua, led by your word, to show us who are like him in this flesh realm how to please you effectively. We seek that knowledge, we seek that demonstration, we seek the mimic of said. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, we pray and we say, Amen. Well, I know some of you say, man, he just prayed too long. Yeah, I really do like having a conversation with the Father and reminding him that I'm reminded of his word. Why? Because man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word of Elohim that proceeds out of his mouth. And that word is how man does live. That's an interesting conversation. We're preparing an entire program for you guys on just that verse in just a few months. It takes a lot of time to gather everything together because we quote certain verses as if we know the verse, but yet when you really unpack the verse, you do see things in a light that has a reveal that was not according to the way we first received it. I want to take that and pick that up later on. But welcome to the program. Glad to have you all. Hope you're sharing this. If you are on YouTube with us today, take opportunity to subscribe to the page, make a comment, hit the bell so when we go live, you get those notifications. Those of you on Facebook, please make sure you like the page, VWJ Ministries on Facebook, then like this broadcast, the one that states TPW, respect is a kingdom of Elohim trait, and then make a comment, even if it's just telling us where you're hailing from. We don't send you spam, we don't send you e-bites and all that stuff. It just lets us know, hey, somebody's out there listening, and other people might be like, hey, people from UK are listening, hey, people from Kenya are listening, people from South Africa are listening. It doesn't matter. America is listening. You know, you never know how you can probably inspire somebody to hear something that they didn't expect to, and then see their lives change because you participated in something that is uplifting of a life, not tearing down of a world. All right, let's get into what we're talking about. Share, like, and let us know your thoughts, even during the broadcast. So if you got questions or thoughts when I make these comments today, please feel free to come off microphone on Clubhouse if you're there, or make a comment inside of the threads on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll make sure we try to answer them live time. Now, today I want to talk about a matter that seems to be way past, it's way past the experience it should be. And the concept is respect. Now, many of us think that we can love only who we want, and still say we are believers and followers of the God who gave us Yeshua HaMashiach. And, we can say and gather and corral ourselves around, the idea of the God of our salvation and say, I can love who I want to love. I can be who I want to be. And then if it runs contrary to his word, it's okay because God knows my heart. I want to really address that, especially with the political climate we've been in particularly the US of A, which does ultimately affect a lot of stuff around the globe. But I also want to touch on the community of faith around Christendom at large, meaning all the different denominations that we have under the banner of he who hung on the cross. So respect is something that is literally a kingdom trait. Now, I want to put this up on screen because I had to think about this statement as I was preparing this particular lesson. And like it or not, the kingdom of Elohim, if you say you're a part of it, is based on respect. So when you remember that trait, it best shows and demonstrates the character of a kingdom citizen. What does that mean? Well, in the idea of defining respect, there are three that I'm going to touch on, but one I want to really use. So when you look up the word respect in the Oxford's dictionary, it will give you the word as a noun. And as a noun, I'm reading from Oxford Dictionary as I talk to you right now. It says it's a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Respect, right? That's That's a word for respect. That's a noun. That's a definition from a noun perspective of respect. And it's true. Aretha Franklin was like, R-E-S-C-E-P. I can't even spell it. R-E-S-P-E-C-E-T. I'm looking at it, can't spell it. That is what I want from you. You have a deep feeling of admiration. I admire people, therefore I can respect them, right? But then there's another noun. And it goes to this regard. It says in the second definition as a noun for respect is due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, or traditions of others. All right, we're going to come back to that because there's a third definition for respect, and it's a verb, and it sort of kind of goes along with the first definition, which is a noun, and that speaks to admire, the admiration for someone or something deeply as a result of their abilities, their achievements. So to use it in a sentence, it would say she was respected by everyone she worked with. Again, those two are connected. The verb is connected to the noun that states a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. And to use that in a sentence, the director had a lot of respect for Douglas as an actor. Now, those two, again, the noun and the verb, which are defined differently, but yet inextricably connected, they deal with you admiring, looking at someone for what they've done. Hey, I got respect for that, right? But the respect for the kingdom that I want to talk about today that we seem to be missing is the second definition for the noun of the word respect. And it means due regard, a earnest and due diligent, a due regard for a person's feelings, a person's wishes, or a person's traditions. So in the definition it used as a sentence, young people's lack of respect for their parents. Now, I don't necessarily like the way they did that sentence for that definition of respect, but I want to repeat the second definition for respect according to Oxford's dictionary. Due regard for someone's feelings, wishes, or rights, or traditions of others, meaning someone who may not necessarily subscribe to the same things you subscribe to, but they are coexistent in this earth with you. So now let's drag that into the necessary practicalities for how we as supposed Christians who are supposed to be about unity, who are supposed to be about community, how we can, in many cases, find ourselves without respect for someone else. And so what I want to really touch on is what, in fact, Leviticus says, what the Torah says about respect in a nutshell. Now, I'm going to bring this out of Leviticus chapter and number 19. I'll do that one today. Let's go to Leviticus 19. I'm sorry, I don't have it on the screen for you right then, but here we go. Now you have it. Let's read the written, what Elohim has to say from his edict about his kingdom. Now, let me say this again, because many people might not grasp what I just said. The book of the Torah, which is the first 5 books of any Bible you have, right? It is the book of Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, right? Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So that is the Torah. That is the governance. That is the edict that Elohim gave to humanity about living in his preferred way of life for the human, i.e., the kingdom of Elohim. So the kingdom of Elohim has an edict, just like every nation and every province or every kingdom has their customs and their ways. America has a constitution, supposedly, and we're supposed to live by the Constitution of America, right? And if you are going to be a citizen here, you have to comply with those issues written out, spelled out, laws prepared for in that particular constitution. And therefore, that can allow you to become a citizen if you're not born here as a citizen, but you have to comply with the Constitution. So when Elohim gave the Torah, it's the Constitution, it's the edict, it's the governance for how the kingdom of Elohim exists, one of the preeminent issues within how we operate in Elohim's kingdom is going to be based on respect. So in the book of Leviticus, a part of the Constitution, a part of the governance for the kingdom of God, we all say we're a part of when you got born again. When you said, I just love Jesus, when you got born again, you were supposed to accept the governance. You were supposed to accept the understandings and the standards of operations inside the kingdom of Elohim. It's no different than when you sign up for a program. You have to accept the rules of the program. Some of you are in Clubhouse. You can't go into certain rooms unless you accept the protocols and the etiquettes that they have lined up and said, if you do this, we'll kick you out. If you do this, you can come, you can be here. Same thing within a lot of what we do in our world. In order for you to be a part of something, you have to abide by the rules. Any club, any sect, any organization, most have rules that you have to subscribe to, right? You have to say, I will comply with. You have to check a box and say, yes, I have read all the issues that you are saying one should be a part of and act like, and the conduct, code of conduct, standards of operations, I agree to them, right? Many of us forgot when we got saved, we were supposed to agree with the Torah. And many of us did not know that that's a necessity in your life. If you're going to be a part of the kingdom, you have to comply with the rules of the kingdom. And much like we see done in the United States of America, I can use that as a great analogy. People come to America wanting the American dream, but want to bring the culture they left and ran from here. And, forego what the Constitution or the governances are here and say, oh, that's unfair. Oh, that's wrong. No, when you go to another country, you must, in order to become a citizen, comply with their Constitution. You're not there to augment it. You came there for that dream. You came there for that opportunity. You came there for that newness of life. You left where you were and you came into this. So when you and I got saved, y'all gonna catch this in a minute. When you and I got saved, we are leaving the world of sin to come into a world of righteousness. And what you did in the world of sin, some things may carry over, but in the world of righteousness, the kingdom of Elohim, you now say, I agree with the standards of operation. I agree with the governance. I agree with the edicts of the king in this kingdom. And therefore, I subscribe to all that is played out and spelled out, and I want to live that way. Now, it's a very interesting thing that we do, because so many times we do these hacks or these abbreviations or these assumptions that, okay, God knows my heart, so I'm good. No, Elohim does really know our hearts. And the saddening thing I found out for me, I'm not judging anybody else out there because I got respect for y'all. I really do. I'm going to say this with all due respect, is this. I didn't realize I wasn't following the rules of Elohim's kingdom when I first got saved. I was following the rules of my church that sold me on Yeshua's death, burial, and resurrection. They sold me on the new life. They sold me on the rapture. And it wasn't like they were trying to, pull something over on me. It's just that we were, and we are in Christendom very ignorant of the rules of the house, of the rules of the country, of the rules of his kingdom. And because we say, well, we should be able to do this, we should be able to do that, we can do whatever because God knows our heart. He know I love us, but right, he know my heart. Yeah, he does. And what he knows, which indicted me and still pricks me to this day, is that he knew I didn't have his word in my heart. He knew I knew about Yeshua. He knew I knew about the death, burial, resurrection, but he also knows you don't know, pardon me, I don't know, pardon me, we don't know his word. And so we're going on making things up as we go. He says, paint the walls white. We say, well, periwinkle would be nice. God will understand. We say, he says, don't do this. and we say, well, I can do this if such and so does this, and God knows my heart. So Elohim knows our heart. He knows that we don't know his word. And that's what Paul was trying to indict in Romans when he said that the Holy Spirit searches the heart and he knows the will of the Father. But he's searching the heart to see if you got any of the Father's will in your heart so he can pull it out of you when you get opposed by the opposite of your faith. And then you can be defended by the faith. But if you don't have the faith in you, Ruach HaKodesh can't pull it out to defend you or protect you or cover you. That's why the statement that I love David and Moshe stated is that, the name of Yahweh is our strong tower. The righteous, meaning those who comply with the word, have the right to go into that strong tower and they are safe. If we don't really pay attention to that, we miss that equals salvation. Strong tower, you can't get me in the strong tower. Well, you only have access to the strong tower because you've accepted the edict and the governance of that dwelling place. That's why when we say, I want to be like Jesus, I want to be like Yeshua, you really have to go back and listen to how Yeshua lived. Here is how he lived in a nutshell. I'm getting to respect. What he said was, the things you see me do, they're my Father's words. The things you hear me talk about and say, they are my Father's words. So without faith, it is impossible to please the Father. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of Elohim, the edict of Elohim, the Torah of Elohim, the governance of Elohim, so that anybody who takes that governance, you will be representatives and citizens and demonstrating his kingdom in an earth that has forgotten his word or cares not to know his word. Now, here is the beauty of today's conversation. In the fact that a person has the inalienable right to choose. You and I have the right to choose to do whatever we want. Joshua said it in Joshua chapter, I think it's 24, was it? Yeah, 24, 14 through 15. Joshua says, as for me and my house, we're going to serve Elohim. He makes this indictment. Let me run to Joshua real quick, chapter number 24, before I come back to Leviticus 7:19. Joshua chapter number 24, after he has the edict. This is interesting. Joshua is the next generation after Moshe, who is now the generation who occupies the promised land. Well, in the promised land, there's a standard of operations. There is an edict for this kingdom's development and maintenancing and sustenance. It is called the Torah. They had been getting that for 40 years in the wilderness. Now it's completed. Moshe has handed it over to Joshua. Joshua is now carrying the children of Israel into the promise of the Father, but you can't live in the promise of the Father like you lived in Egypt. You can't serve the gods in this promise of the Father like you served the gods in Egypt or in Chaldea or any place prior to walking across the threshold of Jordan, entering into the promised land. When you come into the promised land, no matter who's occupying the promised land, they're living by a different edict. But when I move them out for the people of promise to enter the land of promise, we live by this promise. And so what we fail to do as people is realize that we have to live in this kingdom by the kingdom's rules. So when Joshua tells the children of Israel, after they've gone in, they've gone through a major conquest of that region by the hand of Elohim, not even really by their own warring, but by the promise, provision, and hand and propelling of Elohim's promise. They now occupy the land. Look what Joshua says in chapter number 24. And I take us down to verse number 17, just to make sure we know 14 to know what we're looking at. He makes this statement. I'll put my Bible on the screen for you. Here you go. Put my Bible on the screen for you. Look at this. Look at what he says. He says very clearly, Joshua chapter 24, I'm going to go to verse number 14. He makes the statement. He says, now, therefore, everybody should fear Yahweh and everybody should serve Yahweh in sincerity. Pause. Stop. How do you serve someone in sincerity if you don't have their instructions on how to serve them. This indicts that there is a standard of living that we must obtain, we must maintain, that is based on a set of instructions he's already given. So watch what he says. Look at what Joshua says. Don't just fly by it because you got a great quote, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. Look at what he says in the preamble. He says, now therefore, fear Yahweh and serve him in sincerity and in truth. Well, truth is his word. And put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, and when you were in Egypt, and now serve ye Yahweh the way he has given us his word. Verse number 14, look at what he says here. This is very important, and I want everybody to really just read it. And if it seem evil unto you to serve Yahweh, then you have to choose this day who you will serve, whether it's the gods which your fathers served, or that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you presently dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve Yahweh. Verse 16, I'm going to do that just for the sake of clarity. And the people answered and said, Elohim forbid that we should forsake Yahweh to serve other gods. Now, here is the thing. Why does this have anything to do with respect? Because even Joshua, as a leader of a people coming into a promise, as promised, he then looks at people who may have the proclivity, the propensity, and the, watch this, free will moral agency to not obey the edicts that Elohim has given, which have been the propelling of this promise. And he says, look, you got to choose. I'm going to respect you no matter what, but you have to choose who you're going to serve. As for me and my house, as an example of leadership, we're going to serve Yahweh. We're going to serve his edict. We're going to serve this word. We've seen what it's done for us in the 40 years we've been in the wilderness. We've seen now how it's kept the prophecies and given us the actual energy we need to come into the promised land. We're now actually in it. So now that we're here, we're going to serve in my household this edict. Now, you got to choose whether you want to do that or not, because there's consequences to your choice. But I'm not going to be the one to sit and browbeat you about it. You have to make that decision. The consequences come from your decision. They do not come from me browbeating you and telling you you need to serve God after all he did for you, or coming at you and saying, oh, that's how you live. Y'all, my people, stay away from them. It does not say that he stops the community from fellowshipping and engaging with each other. He tells them per household in this community, you have to choose this day who you're going to serve. So, Apostle, how does that relegate itself to your conversation? And how do we now segue into the necessity of this dialogue in modern day? I got to respect your choice. There is an edict on the standards of operations if we expect to have the cover, the safety, watch this, the strong tower of Elohim keeping us safe, covering over us. He who dwells in the secret place of El Elyon shall abide under the shadow of El Shaddai, right? I have to dwell in the edict. I have to dwell in the ways of Elohim, and then he protects me. He guards me. Now, if you, my brother by blood, or my sister by blood, or my mother or father by blood, if you choose not to abide in that edict, I still got to respect you because you're Elohim's created being. But I can't be one who browbeats you and tells you you're going to hell, or you're going to be less than this, or you're less than that. And I have to respect your decision. This is where Leviticus, the Torah, comes into play at. So I gave you an analogy of what Joshua taught and how he put it forth before the whole nation. He did not tell anybody, if you ain't gonna serve God, get out of the kingdom. He didn't say that, did he? He said, you got to choose. You got to choose for yourself to serve his word. Now, is there some caveat we have later on in the Brit Hadessa where we hear Paul says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling before Elohim? Yeah, it is. But let's go back to the instructions, the standards, the edict, the governance of the Torah. Leviticus chapter number 19. I want to be very quick with this because I can't be with you all day on the matter, but it's pretty clear. Leviticus chapter 19, verses number 17 and 18. I want everybody to go there because many of you have read this, but many of us have read it in the wrong context. So let's look at what he says. Leviticus chapter 19. Here it is. I'm putting up on screen. Sorry, I'm so slow. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 17 through 19. Look, remember, Leviticus is the actual edict. Leviticus is the actual, if you don't mind me saying this without being disrespectful, as in America, we have a constitution. Leviticus is the constitution for the kingdom of heaven in the earthen realm. So he goes on to make this statement in Leviticus chapter number 19, verses 17 through 19. He says, listen, you, as a part of the edict, let me give you the big Bible so you don't get the small writing. Look at this. Verse 17, thou shalt not hate your brother in your heart. It didn't say you wouldn't have a reason. You might not have a reason, or you might have a reason to hate, despise, or feel vengeful against your brother. He says, as an edict in the kingdom of Elohim, in the kingdom of where we live, he says very clearly, I love this part. He says, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. You shall in any wise rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Now, rebuking your neighbor for a transgression is one thing. Browbeating him about his or her choices is a completely different thing. If a person decides to live a certain way, I got to respect your decision. You're going to get paid out of the bank account you work for. So the wage of sin is death. I don't have any right judging you on that. Now, is there a righteous judgment that within the kingdom, the citizenship, the organization, we all agreed to honor its edict by? I see you doing contrary. I can say, bro, that's against the rules, right? Yeah, but I'm choosing it. Okay, your choice. As long as you know, because you might not have known, but if you choose to do it and you know, then I have to respect your choice, because now it's between you and Elohim. And I can't treat you differently. It may disgust me that you do it, but I can't demonstrate disgust to you. I have to respect the fact that you like what I deem disgusting. And see, this is where we get wrong in Christendom, because we feel self-entitled to judge people. In the kingdom of Elohim, as a believer, even like Yeshua HaMashiach, we don't have the right to disrespect someone who made a decision in what we would make. It is disrespectful. You must respect each person. Watch what he says in the book of Leviticus right here. This is where the Torah comes real to me, and I love this part. Verse number 17 says, I'm sorry, big Bible back on your screen. Here you go. Big Bible on your screen. Watch. Verse number 17 again. He goes on to indicate, thou shalt not hate your neighbor, your brother, in your heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke your neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Verse 18, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but thou shalt love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yahweh who said this. I know what your flesh thinks, but I'm telling you, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Verse 19 says, you shall keep my statutes. And so when we understand this and we look at how Yahweh works through his instructions to our benefit, our job is to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And so, quite frankly, and we all know the narratives, we all know the ways that the stuff can go, and we would say, well, this, that, or the other, but you all want to be treated. You want to be treated the way you would treat yourself, right? How does that saying go? Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would for others to do unto you. Many of us are so quick to disrespect someone for their choices in life, for their choice in faith, for their choice in gender orientation, though it be theoried and all that goes on with it, their choice in politics, their choices in sports and sports teams, all of those things. And you can find yourself disrespecting their choice and thinking you're respecting the person. When you disrespect that person for the choice that that person made, you disrespect that person. That choice is their responsibility. It is their payout. You and I can't pray faster the wrath of God down on them because they chose to marry same sex. They chose to be gluttonous. They chose to murder. Oh, y'all don't like that. They chose to find themselves in some heinous activity that's so egregious to the society that it broke all the rules. You have to respect the person that broke the rules. The rules pay that person out. You and I don't have the right, according to Leviticus, to hate our neighbor in our heart, even if our neighbor has disobeyed the construct we all agreed to comply by. You have to respect that person. And many of us have no respect for a person. But the Bible tells us, and even the Brit Hadessa, you don't have respect above another person. You don't respect one person because, oh, they did this, they did that, and I like what they did. But you respect this person more than the person who does not do all the things you like, you prefer, or we should do as a society. You have to respect each person. Now, this is where people do not like to hear it, because I got a right. That person did this to me. They broke my heart. They stole from me. They raped my sister, my daughter, my cousin. They raped me, whatever the case may be. And there are some terrible things, real socially justifiable reasons for us to feel some kind of way about a person. That's why in Leviticus 19, Yahweh says, this is what I want you to do. I am Yahweh saying this to you. It indicts, and this is without being subjective or eisegetical, it indicts that Yahweh is saying, I already know how you're going to feel about it. I'm telling you, in this kingdom, this is how we deal with it. So you're not going to hold revenge in your heart. You're not going to avenge your brother. You're going to love your neighbor, no matter who your neighbor is, as you love yourself. So if you should, in your own mind and in your own activities, break the laws you should not have broken for whatever purpose, maybe you thought you can get ahead by breaking the laws, maybe you thought this, that, or other, you would want people to forgive you if you finally came to your senses. And you would want people to know, okay, that's the choice you made. Yeah, that's a choice I made. You would want them to know, okay, that's your choice. It's your choice. Clearly, you've researched this out, I hope. And if you haven't, if you got questions, I'll help you. Or I may even say, hey, you do know that goes against the bylaws, that goes against the edict, right? Yeah, I know. And it's funny because there's times when I'm dealing with Christians. Can I give you a Christian analogy that will seem like it's off the path, but I assure you it's right in context, and you're going to bust up laughing when you hear it. If you're going to keep it a bean, I need permission to give this analogy. So if you're on Clubhouse, come off and say, give me permission. Or if you're on YouTube, Facebook, type in, go ahead, Apostle, or whatever. Okay, just give me permission. I want to make sure I give it to y'all.
You got permission. Go ahead, permission granted.
Okay. Couple of y'all talking to me. Where y'all at YouTube? Where y'all at Facebook? Do I got permission? Okay. All right. So you can get caught up in disrespecting someone because they don't do what we all know we should do, right? And of course, we should love our neighbors as we love ourselves, meaning do unto others as we would have them do unto us. But there's something very funny about how we can be about a people. I recall, and this is the funny part, I recall many times with many people listening to me right now, that when circumstances that are not always good are in your life happening, right? Before situations happen, you got all the strength in God. You know, you see it happening to somebody else. Oh, I got faith that God gonna do it for them and fix it for them. But then when it hits you, it hits sort of kind of different. You know, you're like, now you're in it because it's got you by the heartstrings, it's got you by the purse strings, it's got you by the mental strings, it's got you stressed out or whatever. And then you can say you begin to question God, right? Here's the funny part. How many times I've seen, or how many times have you noticed that when it comes down to it, though I preach it, I gotta first be partaker of the fruit. So when I'm coming to someone who is saying, I'm going through all this and I'm questioning God, I'm like, well, do you want to pray? And they're like, nope. Okay, well, wouldn't talking to the Father about it really help you be reminded of his word concerning the situation you're in? Like, no, I don't want to pray. I don't want to pray. I want to wallow right here in this. I want to feel this. I want to breathe this fire out my mouth. I want to burn my nostril hairs with this issue. And so, no, I don't want to pray. And I sit and I say, well, that's not the choice I would make, but I got to respect your decision. Now, your lack of prayer and your lack of engaging the Father in your situation renders a longer stay in that problem. I know that from experience, but when you tell me I love God last week when someone else was going through stuff and you was like, oh, God, fix it for them or whatever. When it comes to you, now you caught up in your feelings, your emotion, you're all entangled up in this. And now you feel a certain kind of way and you're questioning God. Well, would you like to pray? No. So many people do that, but I still have to respect your decision. Though you say you're a citizen of an organization I help to spiritually guide or cover or teach or share with and talk with and study together with, and you're not doing what in that organization, that group, we have an edict to do. If we got a problem, we talk to the Father about it. Oh, what needless pains we bear, all because we do not carry everything to Elohim in prayer. Now, if you know that and it's supposed to be the edict we live by, and then when the problems come and the needless pains are being bore, you don't relieve them and let him be burden bearer by taking them to him. Rather, you want to air them out on social media, or you want to cry about them under your pillow, which is already soaking wet from the last issue. And yet when we're saying to you, well, let's take it to the Father in prayer, you're like, no, I still have to respect your decision and I can't force you to pray. Now, that's a very light issue, right? But it mirrors and is akin to more extreme issues of respect. I respect that you don't want to pray right now. And I can only hope that you'll come to your senses later and then say, you know what, I was wrong. I was so in my feelings, I couldn't even see past what I was dealing with. And now we struggle, moderators, and we struggle with what we're doing. So when I see that person who is probably somebody I, been preaching on platforms and talking about how great God is and what God will do, and you getting your brand name up, and you got people listening to you teach it, and you in the middle of your crisis don't want to pray, I can't talk about you. I can't demean you. I have to literally treat you the way I would want you to treat me if I made that decision. And that is to let me have what I decided. You can't tell me, well, I love you too much to let you go down that path. No, I love you enough to tell you. That's why he says, rebuke your brother. That doesn't mean get in their face and you doing wrong and God gonna curse you and you gonna go to hell and you need to stop them. That's not the kind of rebuke he's talking about. He's like, remind them of the word. Okay, did you know that wouldn't be the way the edict says we should engage that? Yeah, I know. I don't care. I don't want to pray. Respect. If you need me, I'm here. Because you've done the rebuke process, and we think rebuke is always the punishment and the paddle on the butt and all that stuff. No. Rebuke in this instance indicts, hey, let me remind you. Did you know that wouldn't be the appropriate course? Yeah, I do. Respect. You've made your decision. So why am I making all of this fuss about respect? Because most people in the kingdom don't realize we are very disrespectful. And therefore, we don't show the character of Elohim. Watch this. Even Elohim respects your decision to serve evil. Did y'all didn't hear that? That wasn't a mind blow. Okay, let me try it again. Let me give you a warning. I gotta give you a warning. Y'all making me do this, okay? So let me give y'all gotta get it. Just here's your warning. Here's your error rate warning. Okay, you got your warning. Here is the actual issue. Watch this closely. Elohim even respects your decision to do contrary to his word. He respects your decision to do it. He doesn't like it, but he respects your decision. Told y'all the bomb was coming. Y'all didn't catch that.
Amen.
Even Messiah, when he walked the earth, and we know how he is and who he is, and he was the living word, he respected the Pharisees' decision to disobey his word. Now, he reminded them, did you know that this is how that's supposed to be? You're not doing what he said to do. But he let them know that's the activity of the children of disobedience. There's a difference. That's what children of disobedience look like. This is what children of obedience look like. And you all have to choose who you're going to serve, whether you're going to serve obedience or disobedience, evil or good. You have to choose. Even Messiah respected the decisions of each person. Remember, we talked just the other day, I think it was maybe during Shabbat, and we were having a conversation, maybe even during Marath, the Sabbath service. We were having a conversation using the record of the man whose son was sick, and the disciples prayed for him, and they didn't seem to be able to heal him. And he said to man, he says, it's not whether I can do anything, it's whether you can believe. And if that man would have said, I don't believe, Messiah would have respected that and walked on. The boy would be in a bad way still. But Messiah also respected the man's decision. And when he says, I do believe, help thou mine unbelief. And he did what was necessary. You and I have to be, as kingdom believers. Christianity has such a bad rap with entitlement and begrudging of others who don't do or see or act like we say they should. Now, people get mad at me. We just lost 10 viewers right now because I told you Elohim respects your decision to not serve him. That does not mean he don't deal with it. It means his word has already been established. You and I have to choose. The wage of sin is eternal separation from the Father. The wage of obedience is eternal life with the Father. You choose. Here it is. I respect whatever choice you make because my word is going to carry it out no matter what. You have the right to choose to come into eternal life, or you can choose to keep doing the disobedient thing, which will render you eternal damnation. That's really what it's about. So now, how does that practically play out for us in politics, in world affairs, in conflicts within church, with the gossip and the media circuses that there are around being a supposed believer in God and some religious person who people think you're supposed to act a certain way and do a certain way and all these things. You and I have to, if we're going to show the character of Elohim's kingdom, we have to respect everybody else's decision. You can't disrespect Islam. You can't disrespect Hare Krishna. You can't disrespect Catholicism because you have respect for your faith. That's their choice. If it's wrong, that's between them and Elohim, right? And I'm not trying to lead into a different conversation, though that gives you a whole bunch of different doors and little, caveats to work through. You need to understand that respect is a kingdom of Elohim, a kingdom of God, a kingdom of heaven trait. The word does the judging. You have to decide whether you're going to obey the word or not. And if a person in your proximity chooses not to obey, just like if you should choose not to obey, everybody has to respect another person's decision. Right now, the church lacks respect. The Christian church, as has been and is being touted, literally lacks respect. You don't respect your leaders. If they fall from grace, you dog them out. If they do something that would not be your preference, your choice, we dog them out. We gossip about them. We talk about them. We backstab. We murder them. We embarrass them. We shed their blood. And that's a lack of respect for that person. They're going to have enough to deal with when Elohim weighs in on their actions. And you and I feeling as if we now stand in the place of Elohim and we can judge. You need to understand something. Only Elohim can judge you. You and I must respect another person's belief as they see, they understand it. If they inquire about their belief, you now have the opportunity to share with them, well, I live by this code. Had you heard about this code? Do you know about this statement from the Creator? And they may not have ever known. But if you have disrespect for them, they'll never bring you their questions of what they themselves question within in the dark moments of their life. Even though they stand up with a brazen way of repelling anything else that comes to them as if they got all the answers, many people don't have all the answers, but they got to put the front up so that they don't feel that they're going to be invaded and they don't find that they're vulnerable to being changed. But then there's always, like you and I both, I question my salvation. I question whether this is of Elohim and this is the right path almost every day. But I go to the edict that answers the questions and I still remain and I stay. But in the quiet moments, when you see me out here, when you don't see me out here preaching and teaching the gospel this way, there are moments when I go like, okay, God, is this real? And see, many of y'all want to admit that because you're so holy and so righteous. But that's how I got back in the faith, because I questioned it, and that's why I left it. Now, when I came back, all my answers were given, because while I was out searching for the truth, the answers came from the very place I left. So everybody, though brazen in their stance, badge of honor about what they say they believe, question it. And if you disrespect them because they stand so brazen in front of you, because you can't respect their decision to go that way, they'll never bring their vulnerable moment to you where you have the opportunity to serve the Father and get them truth. Christianity lacks respect. The kingdom of heaven, its character, will always possess respect for another person, another way. Oh, not that that way is right, but they will respect the person's decision to choose it, because you and I have to be available to that human. But if we disrespect them, who comes to a place they're disrespected? I'm not going to come back to you if you disrespect me. I've learned better these days in my life that if you ever disrespected me, you know, you might end up with some lumps upside your head. Oops, upside your head. I said, oops, upside your head. Now I've matriculated. Ishkatal. I've matriculated out of that. And I know that when someone disrespects me, I have to respect, watch this, I have to respect their decision to disrespect me. And what it does is it makes me dig deeper as to why do they feel the need to be disrespectful. And then that's when Ruach HaKodesh reminds you of the word. And it reminds you, you're not wrestling against flesh and blood. That disrespect is not coming from that human. That disrespect is coming from a spirit trying to bring division amongst humans so that they never come to the same place of truth. So I just want to make sure today that we know that man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. That is our edict. And when Elohim says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. We say and translate it in the English and the other languages, and we've loosely translated it. We go on to say, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. How many of you know that you've disrespected people? You wouldn't want people disrespecting you for a decision you made or a mistake. Maybe you were miseducated. Maybe you were even misled, and you made choices that caused, harm or caused pain or made burdens unbearable for you and other people. And when you come to realize, oh man, I messed up, you would want people to forgive you. You would want people to be like, yo, you was in your feelings. Cool. How can we help you get back on your feet now that you're looking for the right path? We would want that. But when I look at Christendom over the landscape at large, most are ready to condemn people to hell. Some even want them dead. All because we can't respect their decision to do them rather than what we know or believe the edict says. But we would say quickly, oh, you should forgive me. I made a mistake. Yeah. But did you? That's why, as I conclude, a prayer that Messiah left his Talmudim. Talmudim are known as disciples in English. When the disciple says, Messiah, Yochanan used to teach us, we were with him before we were with you, some of them, they said, he taught his disciples, his Talmudim, how to pray. Would you teach us how to pray like you pray the way John taught his Talmudim how to pray, right? Messiah then came and gave us what you and I call today in Christendom and the world over as the Lord's Prayer. But listen to the prayer so you can see how this issue of respect is incorporated. He says, our Father, Yahweh, which art in heaven, Shamayim, hallowed, Kodesh, be thy name. Your kingdom come in this earthen vessel. I'm in a world, but I'm asking for your kingdom to manifest in my world so I can spread it through this world. Your kingdom come, your will, your edict, your constitution, your governance be done in me, just as it is in the kingdom where you reside, in the heavens where you reside. Give us this day our daily bread. There go that manna. Did y'all see the manna connection? Give us this day our daily bread, whether it's from barley, whether it's from wheat, or if you want to bring down some manna again, right? If you don't know that, don't judge me until you've heard the story, okay? Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our trespasses the way we forgave others their trespasses against me. I'm going to say it again. Forgive us this day. Forgive us our trespasses the way we forgave others who trespassed against us. Let me say it again. Father, forgive me my trespasses in the same way I forgave others who trespassed against me. What's that smell? Respect. When you can forgive someone for choosing to do something against you that you would probably not do to another person, that's respect. Didn't say you just fell down and laid down to what comes from it. You still have respect for that person. That was your choice. You chose to do that. I may have to be healed. I got my God. I got Elohim. He's my balm in Gilead. I'll be healed. But you have still to forgive someone means you have respect for that person in spite of their action. Now, I can hear a million reasons theologians and seminarians would love to pick this apart, but when it boils back down to it and you get rid of all the little ingredients you added to this pot, the water of the word, hot as it can be, will boil down everything to this broth, and it would indict, forgive me, Yahweh, my trespasses, the very way I forgive those who've trespassed against me. Meaning, this is scary. How I forgive somebody, I'm asking you to forgive me. Meaning, if I really haven't forgiven somebody, Yahweh is only going to forgive me based on how I forgive them. Remember, there's another statement within the Brit Hadessa that goes on to indict that, it just slipped my head too. There's another indictment. It says, if you can't forgive your brothers, then the Father can't forgive you. Wow. This is why when we don't realize we walk in such disregard for respect, we don't demonstrate the character of the kingdom. Respect is a kingdom of God, kingdom of Elohim, kingdom of heaven trait. And it shows the true character of his kingdom when we can, in spite of whatever, still respect a person for whatever they chose to do. Well, I hope that this has been of help to somebody. I just want to share that with you so we can stop with all the fighting back and forth and worrying about who is the president, who's not the president. And I want y'all to stop saying this. I'm serious. I'm hoping you all will, because it flows with what Elohim's word says. And it flows with what the Bible says. No matter who the president, no matter who the king, no matter who the queen, no matter who the prime minister, no matter who the monarch is, Elohim controls and reigns in the kingdom of men. If your organization, nation, or country has someone ruling in it, you must honor that position that they hold. You honor the office and you respect the person. Even if you don't like the things they did or got there, how they got there, you can't go around saying, oh, that's your president. No, it's your president. That's a very ignorant statement to make. And it's an indictment that you'll continue to breed that ignorance to some young child, unsuspecting, untrained, wet behind the ears mindset that perpetuates a greater issue later on in life. Politics are not worth you disrespecting somebody over. It's just a choice. Somebody prefers cheese for free. Somebody prefers cheese as a group we work towards to get it together. It's just the way it is. Some choose to run the world. Some choose to make sure the world runs. But you respect each person for their decision. Now, doesn't mean you don't prepare yourself for the foolishness they could ensue. But at the end of the day, you respect that person. And you and I, in the kingdom, must first be demonstrators of respect for all. Love your neighbor, per Torah, as you love yourself. Well, the Bible declares again, man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Elohim. Mouth of Elohim is tantamount and equating to the Torah. Everything in your Bible is based on Torah. All your testimonies and your preaching points and your sermons of whatever's in the Brit Hadessa or the Tanakh, the New Testament or the Old, is based on the Torah. That's how man does live. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones. I hope that you've enjoyed and took some time to consider, man, am I disrespectful? No matter what you hear egregiously about another person or about another situation, your job is to respect every person. So to respect a person doesn't mean you're going to go gossip about their, not a kingdom citizen anyway. You're not going to go gossip about their fall, their mess up, their mishaps, or whatever's happening to them. That's not your place. You respect that person because there are other people connected to that person who may be subject to the fallout of that person, though they did not participate in that person's fallout. Respect each other. Don't be so quick to flap off at your mouth and be disregarding because you can. Again, I have to respect your choice to do it, but I have a platform that allows me to talk about it, so maybe we can check ourselves. The preceding word was brought to you by VWJ Ministries, and we're so honored to be able to do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on this great channel. You have your YouTube, you have your Facebook, and you also have your Clubhouse temporarily. But we're glad to have it. I hope you've enjoyed something. Let me pray you out. Finish your day and your work week. Pastor Spencer, shalom to you.
Shalom, everyone. Apostle, thank you so much for this message. It was really enlightening and heartfelt. I just wanted you to know that I think it's a continuation from yesterday's message on the household of faith, how we should govern ourselves and how we should act as citizens of the kingdom and citizens of the faith. And as you were speaking, I thought about the text that you had yesterday from Galatians. Mm-hmm. I forget what chapter, but it was talking about that each of us need to prove or scrutinize our own actions, right? So that we can be found not wanting or lacking, and I'm paraphrasing.
You're doing well.
Not wanting or lacking anything, or even setting judgment as though we are better than someone else. So I just wanted to say thank you for the value that you presented us with today and for giving us something to think about and for us to consider our ways. Shalom.
Alaikum shalom, toda. Toda, to those of you who don't know, means thank you. And Pastor Spencer, it is an actual continuation. Any way I can keep getting seconds out of our Sunday meals, I'm going to do it. Something about, spaghetti the next day for me is always good. And for those of you who don't get that, you will later. But, cold chicken the next day for me always works. I don't know, but it is a continuation from what it is, because it's a necessary ingredient missing from our gatherings who say we love Yeshua, because Yeshua has respect for every person's decision. There's a payout for your choice. It's not up to him. It's not up to me. And one of the things that we do wrong, I got a couple of emails yesterday about yesterday's message. And it's funny how people do. They think that when leaders are speaking, and some of us can be transparent, as many of you know that I am, and automatically people think that, oh, well, it's, this is you. Yeah, parts of what I teach come from my experiences. I can't teach you something I've not been through. I can't teach you something I'm going through. I can only teach you what I've been through and have gotten victory over in many cases, probably failed on my way to multiple victories multiple times. So we know the up and down of it, the good and bad of it, the false securities we can fall into about the subject matter, thinking I came through it once and it hit me again, I'm good, I'll get through it again. And then all of a sudden you find you're flat on your face because you thought you did it once, you can do it again the same way you did the first time. It don't work that way. Each thing has a different nuance. And so we got several people who felt the need to judge and like, well, you shouldn't say this, and are you preaching from where you like? Stop. It's a lesson for us to learn. And when you can actually afford experiences that you have a good management from the word on, that is something you can say, here's how you handle these kind of things. So as I was teaching to leaders, I have to use my life as a leader and all the nuances that come along with that, that people will never see leaders go through unless a leader can open and pull back the drapes on their own life that they've got neatly tucked away and compartmentalized. You know, I'm talking about a neat house, not a sloppy house. And they say, this is how you fold that garment when it comes in. And it's tricky because, you know, it's weird how you do it. Anybody ever folded a sheet? I don't know why Yahweh just gave me this demonstration in my head. Y'all know how you have your sheets for your bed, and then you have the fitted sheet, right? And then you have the sheet that goes on top. It's really square, but the fitted sheet has the spandex or the elasticity in it, right? The elastic end. And it's, I always had a hard time folding those sheets. I love the square sheets, but I would hate folding those fitted sheets until someone taught me how to fold the fitted sheet so that it looked like a square sheet when I was done. That's a lot of cases how you have to help people in life until you've failed at it so many different. Nobody, y'all gonna act like I'm the only one. All of y'all fold y'all fitted sheets right, because some of y'all ball it up and put it over there and then you steam it before you put it on the bed. Don't play with me. I've seen too much. All right. So I had some people help. What happened?
I said, you are not the only one.
Yeah, and I've seen people pull them out. I'll be at the laundromat and they pull them out. They be like, and they just roll it up, right? And then before they put it on the bed, they iron it on the bed, so it's neat, right? I'm a bed guy, so I like my bed neat when I get in it. But I've learned how to fold that fitted sheet now, and now I can show you how to fold it, because you may not ever express something so intimate in your world with the outside world that I don't know how to fold a fitted sheet. Anybody want to confess? All right, I don't know how to fold a fitted sheet. Okay, never mind. All right, so some people just roll it up. You know, y'all gonna leave me. Y'all gonna leave me sitting out here with that analogy if you want to, but I know what I know. All right, so because of that, I can explain things better, but that means I have to go back into the experience while it was happening, while I'm teaching it, so that people can now better relate to it. And that's that issue of transparency that happens. And people have to respect the fact that someone is going into their own old pain and hurt, topped off with victory, in order to show the world that this could easily become your path as well. So here is what we've learned. Right? But many people will call them, oh, well, you know, and you're judging. So when you judge people, there's a thing called righteous judgment. But when you judge people, in many cases, you disrespect that person. There's a lot of ways to go, but let that be a point to carry. Now, our viewership has dropped by tens of people since we started talking about this. And I hope and pray that it was not an offense to make you leave, but if it is an offense, that it will be something you come back to get a balm for, and maybe Yahweh, who is our Elohim, can guide those people to and bring them to that place. All right. And that's a very important thing. Well, everyone, it's been a joy being with you. Pastor Spencer, thank you for your input and adding of value and giving away my secret. No, I'm just teasing. That this was a leftover from yesterday's programming. And this is why I love the leaders that Yahweh has connected us to in this instance. And so it's always a joy to be here with you guys and learn with you. Well, I got to get out of here. You got to go. Time is up. We've been an hour and 14 minutes. I'm trying to do better with keeping you guys on the points that you need. So may Yahweh bless you is my earnest prayer. May Yahweh make his face to shine on you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift his countenance upon you and grant you all 13 attributes of his shalom. Have a wonderful and a beautiful day. Blessings to your lives.
Genesis is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.